Hey, it's Soul, and this is the World of Warcraft, where I give opinions and analyses on game design and, maybe have some fun. Today I want to talk about choice in the World of Warcraft and how Blizzard defined and redefined it according to their design, as well as a response to players' reactions. As an always reminder, I am not a game designer, I'm just a fan. I just play WoW a lot. When I speak of choice, I talk about just how a player can go about their business in the World of Warcraft. You start with your faction, your race, and gender, followed by the class it is that you want, followed by the role that you wish to play, to the talents you choose, to the gear that you happen to have, and the consumables that you decide to use, and all the other stuff in between. I've observed that over time, the design of WoW has given players fewer choices between how they can tool around with their characters, and I'm going to be specific with talent choices. I'm going to draw a line that more or less defines when this biggest shift happened. It was the Mist of Pandaria expansion that introduced an entirely new sort of talent tree. This right here is what we all know and love or loathe, while this talent tree is what players were used to for the previous 8 or so years. When this change was introduced, there was a lot of back and forth debate on the merits of this new system, and neither system is perfect by any means. A phrase that arose from this debate came from Blizzard, and it's still used today as a regular talking point, and I'm talking about the illusion of choice. Blizzard made the case that with regards to the older talent trees, the system was needlessly complicated to balance in the face of how players went about making their choices. Within the old talent trees, some talents were reasonably obvious to choose or to not choose, and as soon as a consensus was agreed upon by more prominent players, this kind of cookie-cutter build was more or less adopted by other players who kept an eye out, and this would grow virally into the accepted way to customize your character. With improved social tools over the past decade comes a much higher exposure, and thus more transparency as to what's ideal and what isn't. In this case, the choice is based on getting the most optimal performance out of your spec. The illusion of choice comes from the mentality that going for your optimal performance is the only way to go. Not all, but a lot of players felt compelled to change their gameplay style away from roleplay and instead top score. They're choices, but it's between the right one and the many wrong ones. And so came this great change, with clearly defined talent specializations and a few rows and columns of talents to support them. Down the road were glyphs and major glyphs to some point, legendaries at another, and well, who knows what's going to come in future expansions. But this was Blizzard's approach to combat the illusion of choice and give players meaningful choices on what to talent for while baking the already must-have talents into a spec. But did this work? In my opinion, not one bit, at least on the player side. For development, this helped a bit to improve balancing between specs. Now that these certain talents were baked into a class specialization, they could be more easily adjusted or modified by the team. One of the many factors that goes into designing a class is to see how well it performs if it does or does not have a certain talent slotted. If the said talent is instead built into the class, then that just takes care of the if factor. But for players, the agency is still the same. We ask ourselves which talent gives ourselves the best performance at the time. A few clicks is really all that it takes to retool our specs for a given situation. There are more choices and decisions to make because the wide variety of talents and their usefulness, it warrants that. But WoW's community is phenomenally large, with an entire industry of WoW to support it with simulations, data parses, and constant data analysis on what is best. The talent system gives players additional choices thanks to the ability to change them on the fly to suit the environment. The system is malleable to suit single target and AoE situations, high movement, tank healing, and so on as a player progresses from one zone to the next, one encounter to another. For these numerous situations though, there's still only one really choice for each, and there's many wrong ones. Part of the fun in role-playing is that our choices mean something. Thanks to a talent system that lets us swap in and out as we wish, there's no longer a defined identity between players of the same class apart from skill. We're expected to switch our loadout to best suit the situation, and like many aspects of gaming, possibility goes hand in hand with expectation. The difference between then and now is that we don't have to go back to a class trainer to do so, but in my opinion at least, the ease of choice waters down the ability for these choices to feel meaningful, because we could always change things back.
By contrast, older games like Diablo 2 had real consequences to choices because there was no turning back. I suspect that a system like this never made it to WoW because of the obvious long-term investment that goes into making a WoW character. Like if I'm a Protection Paladin and in some fit of insanity I wanted to become a Retribution Paladin instead, rerolling a character from scratch does not sound all that appetizing. So the illusion of choice hasn't changed all that much since the phrase was introduced to WoW's design approach. Today's WoW player has a lot of sophisticated resources to tap into, including tools and community hubs to assist or otherwise just tell players how to spec and talent and gear. In the face of trying to push against this by trying to balance talents and make them all viable, isn't Blizzard just fooling themselves with an illusion of balance instead? Just my opinion, but I think Blizzard should try an approach of putting fun at the forefront of design. Like, what seems cool? What's an ability that could be neat but isn't quite ready to be a baseline thing? What's a platform that can be used for experimentation? From my observations, Legendary Armor fit the bill during the Legion expansion, and this allowed developers to add to talents without really adding to talents. Previous to this, major glyphs did the same thing, modifying abilities and supplementing the talent system without changing the trees or the columns themselves. All I suggest to do is to do away with this pretense and just retool the talent system once again and offer loads of choices that heavily alter the gameplay approach of our characters. It can be somewhat similar to the old trees, but without the boring talents that gave percentage increases, but instead help breathe a different life into these specs. This would be supplemented with a gear and stat weighing progression pace that helps cement these choices we have, or just encourages a lot of gear farming to have a fully adaptable loadout if you so choose. Like, what if a Protection Paladin could use 2 shields, or deal damage primarily with Retribution Aura, or a Discipline Priest that could viably just use nothing but Smite, or a Warlock or a Shaman tank. As for how the tree is going to look, I'm not going to begin to guess on a design approach apart from a possible talent block system that I thought up a while back, but I mean that's really going to be up to the design team. And I'm not even saying that they have to be balanced or even viable, just fun. Just something to experiment with or have as a niche. I mean, players are smart, and the industry of WoW has more than proven that they can always find the best thing. So maybe Blizzard should just fully embrace the futility of the illusion of choice and just focus on the fun. Let the players give feedback on balance between this new tree because, well, we'd be doing that anyway, wouldn't we? Share your thoughts and stay breezy.